And we are back here on YSN. We are moments away from kickoff. Tim Corso, Keith Corso with you guys. And the Ursuline Irish came out of the locker room before the national anthem with a helmet change. They have the newly made black helmets with the white face mask. They got the black pants today. We hadn't seen those before, and now they come out after changing their helmet from gold to black, and it's all black on the one jerseys and all white in the other jerseys, and those are two of the sweetest combinations in football.
So the Irish are going to have an opportunity to start this game on offense. They're going to receive the kickoff, and we'll see what they can do right off the bat.
We'll see if Mooney has anything up their sleeves trying to pooch the ball, or I'd imagine they're taking the ball and keeping it away from both Devontae Taylor and Jaquise Liaison back deep. Most teams have tended to do so far.
Yeah, that's the one part of the game in the first game of the season against Walsh Jesuit, which really kept the Irish in it.
And right underway as Adam Varley sends it deep, and it's muffed by Liaison. He falls on it, and not a good start for the Irish. He had a chance with plenty of space to get at least past the 25, 30-yard line, just based on where he got the ball and where blockers were at, but he couldn't quite corral it, and he falls in that ball around the 17, and that's where Ursuline will start their first possession. DC Farrell is leading the Irish offense onto the field entering today's game. 1,200 yards on the season. He's completed 65% of his passes, 13 touchdowns through the air to just 2 interceptions, but he also has 375 passing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. So you got to keep your offense on your toes if you're Ursuline. First play, reversed, given to Liaison, and he's going to get near the first down marker, and they are probably going to give him it maybe a yard short as they fake the inside handoff to Baylog, and Liaison won around the outside on the reverse pass, and they're going to bring up, I believe, second down and about 1.
And the extra yardage in that play was really made because of his patience waiting for the blocks.
Farrell keeps it right there. Farrell has it, and that's going to be an Irish first down. Our first down of the game as Farrell gets about 3 yards out to their own 34-yard line.
I thought for a second there that he was going to bust that. I think he would have got a whole lot more, but he just got tripped up at the line of scrimmage.
Quick tempoed offense. Hand off to Baylog. Baylog, he trips and falls down after about a yard gain. That'll bring up second down and 9. He might have had some space to get some more had he not. I don't know if he was tripped up by a ankle or a hand on the ground or if he just lost his footing, but he's going to go all the way to the top of your screen while DC Farrell's in the empty, and you like to see a lot of quarterback draws and bubble screens out of this formation. It's going to be a play blown dead. It looked like it was a QB power to the right, and you probably get Ursuline for some kind of illegal false start or a legal motion. And it's going to be on the Irish. So that's 5 yards backing them up on second down, and it will be second and about 13.
Overall, this year, I think, especially the last couple of games, I think the Irish were plagued a little bit by penalties, especially a couple games ago. But
hasn't mattered in their games because they've blown teams out. But this might be a game that matters.
Right.
Farrell looking down the field for Patterson. Patterson, that one's nearly picked off. That ball really had no chance. Braden Mahone got a hand on it. He was the closest one to that football. There is a flag, though. It's a sideline warning against Cardinal Mooney. So that's important because that's the first drive of the game. If they get another sideline warning, it is a 5-yard penalty. And so it didn't affect the play in terms of yardage, but that's something to look out for as this game goes on, as Ursuline now faces an early 3rd and 13 against this Mooney defense that has played well at points this year. They've also struggled when they face bigger, more high-powered offenses, and that's going to hurt their offense if they don't get Ursuline off the field. They've only scored 16 points a game this year. Farrell, no time, throws it, caught by Taylor, and that ball gets dropped. If Taylor caught that, he had plenty of green grass. He might have had a touchdown just because there's really only one defender downfield, and he had a receiver as well. But instead, that's going to bring up 4th down and 13, and the Irish are going to punt with 10:23 left to go in the first quarter.
One of the things the Irish have shown this year is that, a lot of teams when they're in 3rd and long situations, they just try to pick up a portion of that and hope that maybe they can get the first down on a run and catch or a catch and run. But the Irish haven't been afraid to go for it all.
And a dropped punt, Tayback falls on it. It doesn't matter who recovered it. Cardinal Mooney gets the ball on the Ursuline 23-yard line, And we talked about just briefly, Cardinal Mooney's offense has only averaged 16 points a game. They're not scoring at a high level. They scored 32 last game in a 32-0 win over Youngstown East. And prior to that, 6 against Warren Harding, 27 against Cheney. So an offense that's struggling this year, you really don't want to give them field position where they're almost at the red zone already.
And the thing that we've seen about the Irish defense over I think since like week 2 is that they have allowed their defensive line to occupy the offensive line for their opponent, and those linebackers are really making some plays, and so they are pursuing really to the ball very strongly. We'll see what they can do here.
As Vince Gentile leads out the Cardinal Mooney offense, just a sophomore at 6 foot, 190 pounds. He's looking to throw off the play action. It's caught out of the backfield and nowhere to go. Dre Riley maybe got a couple. He's going to be chopped down after about a yard or 2 gain. A good tackle right there. And Ursuline's going to just hold the 2 yards on that first down play. Cardinal Mooney, like we mentioned, they struggled on offense to start the year. Their first 2 games, they scored a combined 7. They made a quarterback switch to Vince Gentile. He's been good. He had a big first half against Cheney in their win a couple weeks ago here at Stanbaugh Stadium. He's young. He's athletic. He's got a big arm. And big arm quarterback who can also run. That can be dangerous for a defense. Handoff. And only a couple, still pushing instead of just a couple yards. A nice run right there for Aiden Page, the senior. He's only 5'9", 190, but he runs harder. That was a good pickup. He only had a couple there, and now brings up 3rd and short.
That was a good offensive line surge, and you're always told as an offensive lineman when your back gets stuck, just push him forward, and they did a nice job of doing that.
The ball's on the 16-yard line now, about 3rd and 3 to go. See if this is 4-down territory likely, and they're probably going to run the ball twice here, you'd think. Gentile looks to throw. He throws, and that's nearly picked off and then dropped. A great effort from Ray Javey, the sophomore defensive back in there. And then after he got through his hands, Carlos Gomez, the senior, almost had a chance at it. And if he had it, he may have walked in the end zone if he could tippy-toe down that sideline. Instead, it's going to bring up 4th and 3 and a big 4th down play to start the game.
Yeah, he jumped on that coverage. And I thought for a second there he was going to take it, but he didn't get it. And like you said, it was a dangerous opportunity.
Gentile looking to throw. He's facing pressure, and that's incomplete. He threw it behind his intended receiver right there, Kingston Powell, and that's going to set Cardinal Mooney off with no points after they got great field position. And taking you back a couple plays, if someone makes that catch, whether it's JV or whether it's Gomez, it's 6 one way. And right there, that 4th down play for Cardinal Mooney, you had a guy, but he threw behind him. I don't know if he had the first down regardless, but it wasn't an easy play.
Yeah, that's a tough situation as a coach when you get excellent field position because of a muffed kick, and you're only so many yards, 17 yards away from the end zone, and you want to convert that into points.
You hate to kick a field goal.
Right.
But, of course, not every high school kicker can kick that, and that's why I thought maybe they should have ran it on 3rd and 3. Because if you know you're going for it on 4th down, you try running it twice. And right there, speaking of running it and going nowhere, Joe Baylog gets wrapped up a yard behind the line of scrimmage. And this is what we see early in a lot of these Holy War games is maybe one team has a winning by 30 or whatever, but it's always tight early. They're always kind of feeling each other out. And D.C. Farrell's hard count gets Cardinal Mooney to give him 5 free yards, and that'll move it to 2nd down and about 5. Talk about something that's kind of a underrated play. You get 5 free yards there, and all of a sudden you can maybe take a shot here because it'll be 3rd and short even if you didn't get any big chunk play.
And that's what the Irish have done all season long on these 2nd and mid-level downs. They try to go for it.
Hand off Baylog. Baylog has a little bit of a hole. He breaks a tackle, and he's slung down after that. He got a few. I'd mark him about a yard shy of the first down marker at the 25. They need to get to the 26. And with 8:04 and counting left to go in this first quarter, Ursuline facing another 3rd down, this time a little more manageable than 3rd and 13. Keeper for Farrell. Farrell has the first down, and he has more. He's breaking tackles. He's got one man to beat. Farrell weaving around defenders, and D.C. Farrell scores! Well, a 75-yard touchdown for D.C. Farrell, and Ursuline up 6-0.
How many times do you think that he was going to get caught? Did they have an opportunity to get him? He has such great downfield vision when he's running because he has an opportunity to just change. He has the ability, I should say, to just change his direction because he's looking downfield. He's not looking just what's in front of him. He's looking to the side. He's seeing where there are openings, and that's what he does so well when he gets outside of the pocket.
And Ursuline going for 2 now in their muddle huddle formation. John Frangos in that Wildcat. He keeps it. He goes up the middle, and John Frangos is going to maybe get in the end zone. We'll see where they mark him. It was close. I think they're going to say no good, and they're going to say he was stopped at about the half-yard line. He had an option to give it to Quez Patterson on the jet sweep, but Ursuline will take the points. They're up 6-0. D.C. Farrell making his moment in the Cardinal Mooney Ursuline game. He played this game as a receiver the last couple years. He had some big games. Now shifting under center, he makes an impact on their second drive.
Yeah, I don't, you see so many things happen throughout the course of the season, and you see him turn something that looks like it's going to be a very basic gain into something like that, just because of his speed and his elusiveness. He's just so good at it, and you have to have somebody on him almost all the time, and that first person needs to make that tackle or what you just saw is going to happen.
And traditionally there's no man to guard the quarterback unless your play includes a quarterback spy, which you'd think it'd have to at least a decent amount of the time for Cardinal Mooney with D.C. Farrell at quarterback. But sometimes there's just not a quarterback spy. They're in a zone or they're in a straight-up man-to-man, and that's where Farrell can hurt you when you outnumber the defense with your running quarterback. And we'll see what Tabak does here as it's a pooch kick down to around the 15-yard line. It's going to bounce and be picked up on the hop. A lot of space. That's J.J. Stevens. He's down the sideline. There's a flag. So he's going to be out of bounds across the Ursuline 50-yard line and around the 45. But there is a flag back at the 37 and all likelihood of holding an illegal block in the back on the Cardinals. And that'll set the Cardinal Mooney Cardinals back about 10 yards.
I have no idea who did that, but all I know is that after the play was done, number 4, Brady Desmond, just sat there and stared at the flag and said, "Oh, geez, that's gonna come back."
Whether it was him or someone else,
but he knew what was going on. He just stared at it.
And even if they got the ball to the 45 of Ursuline, that's still their worst field position between the 2 drives they've had, and they're not built to score quickly. They score more quick in the second half because they have a line that's big. They like to run the ball consistently. They don't shy away from running unless they're down multiple scores. And this is an offensive line that likes to wear on you throughout all 4 quarters. And by the end of the third, the whole fourth quarter, they're hoping those 2 or 3 yard runs on first down pop into 6 or 7, and they're getting first downs every play. But right now, you need to at least keep this game close for you to be able to still do that.
So it looks like this ball is going to be on the 27-yard line.
Under center I formation, handoff. That's Page. He's going to get nothing, about a yard, if anything, and that's going to bring up a 2nd and long. Aiden Page, we mentioned, 5'9", 190 pounds. He's been a running back for this Mooney team starting since he was a sophomore. Loads of experience in that backfield, a lot of experience on this offensive line. But right now, experience, that can help you in big games, but it can only help so much.
And this is where we want to watch the Irish defense, to see those linebackers recognize the play very quickly and fill those gaps and make those stops on those runs up the middle.
Gentile in the shotgun. It's going to be a power, that's Stevens. Stevens is in the Wildcat, and he gets to the 30 and nowhere else. Brought out of bounds, and that'll bring up a 3rd and long.
And that's the second play today. Early in this game where it's gone to the outside and you think that there's a good amount of room for a gain, and yet the pursuit on defense has been really quick to recognize it. And that's one of the things that they're going to possibly have to take into account, some misdirection to try to catch that defense off guard.
And obviously not here, but I would like to see Cardinal Mooney try running the ball up the middle a lot. They got the size advantage up the middle. We saw on that push on that 2nd down play, as Gentile's going to throw, there's a false start, it looks like, on the play. But back to my point, that second down play on their first drive, they only had about a yard, and they pushed forward for about 5 or 6. They got a bigger interior on that line than Ursuline does. If they can run the ball up the middle consistently, that can be where they can kind of find their big 10, 15-yard chunk plays, because you might not score a 50-yard touchdown on Ursuline, but if you can sustain a drive and keep that defense tired, you force that Ursuline offense to score or at least sustain a drive to where they can't send a tired defense back on the field, because a lot of the times Ursuline only has 3 guys up on the line of scrimmage, and they are relying on those blitzing linebackers to be gap sound.
And you talk about that offensive line for Cardinal Mooney. They've got a 275 and a 280-pounder on that offensive line. The 2 tackles are that big, and so running behind them is a good idea. That's
a size that some freshmen in college will come into as a Division I college offensive lineman, around 285, and then they'll work their way up to over 300 pounds. And there's a number of guys on their roster that weigh over 300 pounds and are 6'3", 6'4", so a little bit of a size problem, which Ursuline hasn't seen that size much. Maybe Fitch, Villa Angela, Walsh Jesuit. We'll see how they handle business here, because it's gone 3 different ways. It's gone dominated by Walsh, handled Fitch really well, and then had a solid game against Villa Angela.
Okay, and the something on defense, or something in the offensive package, was something that Cardinal Mooney didn't like, so they were forced to take their first timeout of the half.
But you don't mind that here, because it's the first half. Second half, especially in the tight game, you want to preserve all those timeouts if possible. And right here, Coach Polini saw something, like you mentioned, he didn't like, and they're going to drop one of their better third down plays for this 3rd and long, but there's really not much on the play sheet for 3rd and 12. Gentile looking to throw over the middle and over the head of Gomez. He didn't put a bad ball out there, but he put it to only where his receiver could get it, but his receiver couldn't even get it.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I mean, that's exactly where the ball needed to be. Anything lower was going to be caught by a defender, so it was right there, and if he would have been able to pull it down, it would have potentially been a first down. He would have caught it a little bit short, but his momentum could have likely taken him for that first down.
And that's something where it's not going to be in the stat sheet, but Gentile, only a sophomore, first year starting at quarterback, not even the full year. Some guys might just try rifling that one in there. It's picked off the other way for a touchdown. Instead, he said, you know what, if we're not getting this first down, they're not getting the ball either, and we're going to punt it away. And that's exactly what Cardinal Mooney is going to do here. As a timeout, maybe by the officials. I'm not sure if a team took it.
I don't know exactly what they saw, but they wanted to make sure that they reset this.
So 5:21 left in the first, and Cardinal Mooney is going to send the ball back to the Irish. Low snap. It's going to be up in a line drive kick. That's Farrell. He makes the catch. And there's a flag immediately, likely on Ursuline, but then again, John Frangos got thrown to the ground, so maybe it's on Cardinal Mooney. You don't know on punt returns, because 95% of the time it's on the team receiving the ball. But the funny thing there is that's before Farrell caught the ball, and sometimes that's when the guys are going down the field, and the people who are trying to block end up making a penalty. So it's probably on Ursuline, but we'll see what they call.
They're not giving us any indication. Oh, they're going to walk it back.
So that is on Ursuline. Not sure what kind of penalty, whether it's a holding, a block in the back, but it does send them back about 10.
It looks about 10.
So we're going to see Ursuline have the ball around the 28, 29-yard line. They mark it at the 28 officially, and that's where this Ursuline offense, who scored on a big chunk play their last drive, will start their next possession. Man in motion's Patterson. Patterson around the outside. He gets a few, and then he's hit out of bounds, stays on his feet, but knocked out around the 34, maybe the 35. That's a gain of about 6 or 7.
And that's a play we've seen before in these past weeks. It's that in motion and then the snap and the quick handoff to Patterson, and sometimes he's able to get around that corner. That time he just wasn't able to do it.
Farrell keeps it. Bounces it outside, and he gets a couple, and he's going to get a first down across the 40 to the 41.
This is that down that sometimes, you can't quite figure out where Dan Ruden's going to go, but a lot of times in that second and short, he likes to go for a big chunk of yards. This time I think he's just trying to control the ball.
Farrell looking to throw. Has some time. Takes a shot down the field. And that one may be caught. It is. I believe that's Devontae Taylor. I'll check. It's not. It's Joe Baylog. So what a catch by the running back. That was one where he went out of bounds but came back in, but he was pushed by the defender, and somehow Joe Baylog caught that football.
And that ball was dropped down in between two defenders into not your tallest receiver.
He's about 5'10".
Yeah.
In the red zone, Ursuline looking to make a play. Farrell throws it, and that's going to be thrown away out of bounds. He had liaison in the area. That'll bring up a 2nd and 10. And I thought that might have been Devontae Taylor because out of instinct, you see a jump ball on the field, you think he's going to Devontae. Instead, he threw it to – he must have saw something with Joe Baylog because Baylog was out of bounds and had another safety converging. Hand off to Baylog. He's dancing around back in the backfield, but he's not going to get anything. He maybe loses a yard.
And that previous play really shows the maturity that DC Farrell is making. You know, a lot of high school quarterbacks will see your receiver down there, you're scrambling, and you think, you know what, I can get that in there. And he just didn't want to risk it. They're moving the ball. You don't want to turn it over.
Farrell throws, crosser over the middle, and caught by Patterson. Patterson gets about 2, and that'll bring up a 4th down and about maybe 9 to go. And on comes the field goal unit for Anthony Tabak. This will be about a 32-yarder. He nailed a school record 40-yarder last week against Cheney, and Tabak looking to make it an all-important 2-score game.
When's the last time we saw a fake field goal attempt? I don't know. I'm not saying
they ran one against Hartley, and of course we weren't there.
And your quarterback is your holder here.
Kick is up, and the kick is good. Anthony Tabak, the leg, plenty of strength, and it was well enough over the line. And with 3:19 left to go in the first, Ursuline leads Cardinal Mooney 9-0. We'll take a quick break here on your Sports Network. And we're back here on YSN. Tim Corso, Keith Corso with you guys. 3:19 left in the first. Ursuline extends its lead to 9-0 after the 32-yard field goal from Anthony Tabak. And Tabak set to kick it off, and maybe this is where you see one of those Dan Reardon onside kicks. You have momentum, you're up 2 scores, your defense got to stop inside the 25 of their first drive. They force a 3-and-out their second drive. Maybe you trust your defense here and try getting a surprise onside kick here.
The way he's backing up, it makes it look like he might be trying, but now he's going into more of a traditional
But you never
set.
quite can tell. And here is the kick, and they are going to try the onside, not even on an onside, but a little pooch. And it is recovered by Cardinal Mooney. Now the up man, and that was Blue Jackson. He tried falling on it, and it got away, and that's what you want from Ursuline. It wasn't an onside because it keeps the ball around the 40, but it was one of those where, if that up man doesn't get it, it's a foot race for the football.
Yeah, you're relying on the speed of your outside men to get to that ball. You hope that it's muffed like it was, but there just happened to be another Cardinal Mooney Cardinal right there.
And he was the only Cardinal right there. There was 3 black jerseys around him, and, of course, it just happened to fall to the one guy who was wearing white. And Cardinal Mooney with a sigh of relief because Ursuline would have had the ball around the Cardinal Mooney 40. Instead, a chance to cut into that 2-score deficit. If Gentile can get something going here for the Cardinal Mooney offense. Hand off to the outside. Page lowers the pads, and he goes nowhere. A 1-yard gain finished off by Carter Rudzik.
And again, you feel like he had a wall of blockers to help him, but then all of a sudden when he hit that 40-yard line, there was just a wall of Ursuline players right there to stop him. I thought maybe there would be enough blockers to help him get a few more yards.
And, of course, you did that Fitch game with me, and Ursuline kept trying to run that ball up the middle on 4th downs, and they had no success. Here, Cardinal Mooney seems early success in up the middle runs, and now they're going to the outside. They're not doing what they're having success with in the early going as they go back to it here, and they get about 2, and that's going to be it. So now it brings up 3rd and about 6 or 7.
Yeah, I think they're in a mode now where they're trying to figure out what it is that they can do to pick up some chunk yards here. I mean, they're in a 3rd and manageable situation.
So they get the play call, and there's 20 seconds left on the play clock, and just about 2:09 and counting left in this first quarter. Got a man in the backfield with two at the top and bottom of your screen. Gentile looking to throw. He sends some pressure. That's caught over the middle. That's a first down. And into Irish territory goes Dennis Clark. Stands 6'1", 180 pounds, and this is something you haven't seen from Cardinal Mooney in terms of their size at receivers. Over the years, they've had a lot of slot guys. They've had a lot of guys who are able to get into space and make some quick, slot merchant kind of catches, as they call it. 6'1", 190. They got some other guys who can go up there and grab a football. That gives your quarterback a lot bigger targets and a bigger catch radius to throw it into. So now with the first down of the game out of the way for Cardinal Mooney, we'll see what their offense will do as they're in an I formation right now. Fake handoff, looking to throw. That one's going to be incomplete. The intended receiver was Rocco Gentile as the play action. And you don't see that often, a play action to the fullback.
No, I mean, you don't see many traditional I formations at all anymore, and a quarterback under center to boot, of course. So, I mean, a couple of things there that we saw in that alignment that we don't see very much.
And oftentimes, sometimes you will hand it off to the fullback out of the I formation. Right there, they went a fullback fake dive play action pass, which is digging into that creativity a little bit and letting Gentile have a little more time to throw the ball. A pitch play, almost pitched over the head of Page. Page hits a hole. Page has some yardage. He's down to the 40. And right there, that ball almost went over the head of the running back. It went from disaster averted to a nice pick of about 6 or 7 yards. Now set up about 3rd down and 2 to go. This is where Cardinal Mooney wants to operate all game.
And the one thing with a play like that, when you're pitching it so deep into your backfield, is you give an opportunity for your offensive line to set their blocks, and if your running back has good vision, they can find that hole.
I formation again, handoff to Page again. Page going nowhere. Brought down behind the line of scrimmage, and that was Dre Riley again. Riley was put in for Page on that play. He gets nothing. He might have lost the yard. That does bring up 4th down and 3 to go. And I'm not sure if Cardinal Mooney called a timeout because there's 32 seconds left in this quarter and they don't have to get off another play. Instead, I think they called a timeout and they're going to set up a 4th down play, which it's kind of puzzling to me. Why not just run it at the end of the quarter, save yourself a timeout, and you get a little bit longer to talk about it because you get the rest of the quarter and get the whole in-between quarter timeout. I'm not sure what the thought process is there, but they did call a timeout anyways.
I mean, this could very well be, it's 4th and short. You've had a hard time getting things going on offense, and so now it's a decision, do you go for this? I mean, I'm pretty sure you go for this, but you have an opportunity also to kick the ball, to try to pin Ursuline deep if you can. But they're going to go for this, and they've got about 3 yards to go for the first down on 4th down.
And that was the same thing they had in their first drive, 4th and 3. And if it was a one-score game, maybe you do that, but they might anticipate the fake punt. Quick throw to the out route. It's going to be caught past the sticks down to the 33. A really nice catch there again from Clark, and Gentile across the hash is a nice bullet.
Yeah, there was a lot of cushion between the receiver and the defensive back, and it was easy enough for him just to go out and do a quick turnaround, and the ball was right there waiting for him.
And there is another first down for Cardinal Mooney, this time converted on 4th down, and that's a big sigh of relief on that sideline. Handoff up the middle. That's Riley again. Riley, he gets about 2, and then he is picked up and dragged backwards. You can see, I believe it was A.J. Snyder had him in his grasp, and that was actually Tyron Davis who picked him up and slowly put him down, as that will end the quarter. Ursuline leads 9-0 after 1 quarter of play. Cardinal Mooney driving down the field. They have the ball close to the red zone. We'll be right back here on YSN Live. Here on YSN, start of the second quarter in the Holy War. Ursuline leads Cardinal Mooney 9-0. Cardinal Mooney, ball on the 30-yard line of the Irish. They have converted twice on 3rd or 4th down on this drive already, and they're marching on this drive at the 30. Play action. Gentile shot for the end zone. He has a man. He underthrows, and Gomez drops it. And they do throw a flag. It is going to be pass interference on the Irish. It was a tough play for the defender to make. I believe that was Davis. It was underthrown. That's Ray JV, excuse me. It was underthrown. Gomez came back, and I don't think there was a whole lot of contact there to warrant him getting a flag, but the referee saw it and threw the flag.
Yeah, lots of times when, you're calling these games and something like that happens and the defensive back never looks back for the ball, you get some contact like that, you're going to get a penalty called against you. And he didn't know the ball was coming at him.
Because it looked like at the very last second he turned back and tried to put his hands above the helmet to catch it. Instead, they threw the flag. It's an automatic first down regardless, and now Mooney has the ball inside the red zone. They have two backs in the backfield. That's Riley. Riley wrapped up and thrown down by A.J. Snyder. The junior, he got into the backfield, and there was nowhere to go.
Yeah, he's been making himself known these last number of games. He's playing that defensive end position, usually on the right-hand side, but they'll move him around a little bit. And he's been able to get into the backfield a lot in these past games and make some really big tackles for the Irish.
And you don't see sometimes a lot of edge rushers getting in on run plays a lot. It just depends. They're obviously big guys on passing downs, but right there he got through. He busted through that line, and he's got the size of a DN for high school, but he's got a little bit of speed too. So that played to his strength right there, and that's going to bring up a 2nd and 13. Gentile rolling out. He has nowhere to go. It's Drake Campbell. A sack, and that brings the ball all the way back to the 26. Gentile looking at the ref, not sure what he was kind of holding under the ball for. I'm not sure if he wanted a flag or if he was just maybe looking towards the sideline saying, what was that? Because the blocking broke down, and Campbell was in the backfield immediately. But there is a timeout for an injured Cardinal on the field, so we'll take a quick break and be right back on this 3rd and forever for Cardinal Mooney. And we're back here. Cardinal Mooney, 3rd and 21 from the 26, so they can get a first down without scoring a touchdown. But right here, you got to imagine this is kind of just to get Anthony Spirko into field goal range. Gentile looking to throw, facing some pressure. He stands in the pocket, he fires, and that's picked off. That's Amir Brown. Brown down the sideline. There's a flag on the return. He's going to step out around the 48. The blocking is going to put Ursuline back about 10 yards inside their own 15. But Gentile in a kind of a no-man's land spot. He really didn't have anything in short yardage, and anything over the middle was blanketed. So he just kind of heaved it into traffic, and right there, that turned it over. And maybe they would have had a field goal attempt if they got 5 or 10 yards, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, and when you see a penalty like that happen, when the interception happens and all of a sudden the play is reversing its direction, there's a lot of times you're now becoming a blocker and you just look at the first person who you see, and sometimes they're not in the position for you to be able to block them. You're going to get them in the back, and that appears to be what happened.
And they're going to move the ball all the way back to the Ursuline 14. You have 10:26 left to go in this first half. Ursuline has about 87 yards to go before they want to punch it in, but they start off with a Baylog carry to the outside. He's going to run a guy over, but then gets brought down shortly after. He got about 4. So keeping you on schedule on 1st and 10.
And you wonder how much of a game like this is, trying to figure out different ways in which you can run the ball. I don't know what that was.
It was a flat. I think it was a towel.
Okay.
Handoff. Baylog again. He's undercut, and he gets a couple. I think he was throwing that towel.
Okay.
I don't know if it was bugging him or something. And I'm surprised it didn't. I'm surprised they didn't stop to kind of get the towel out of the way for the time being. But we do have another Cardinal down on the field. Hopefully he's all right, so we'll step aside again for the injured Cardinal Mooney. We're back here on YSN, the injured player Aiden Stamp getting off the field, and hopefully he is all right. You hate to see that in any kind of game, but especially a rivalry game. These kids are looking forward to it all week, and for that to happen early is unfortunate. But now the task at hand for Cardinal Mooney is it's 3rd and 1. not easy to get a stop on 3rd and 1 against Ursuline with that running game they have and their explosiveness all around the field, but it just takes one play.
Yeah, this is one of those plays where it's not a 4-down territory kind of thing, and you make a stop here and you can get the momentum back.
And the hard count gets Cardinal Mooney to jump off sides, and I got to imagine that that's something that the Cardinal Mooney coaches didn't see on film, because if you watch Ursuline, they do that all the time, whether it's on maybe, hey, 3rd and 10, they're just trying to get 5 free yards, or anything that's 5 yards or less on 3rd or 4th, they're always going to go with a hard count. So now it's 1st and 10. 2 backs in the backfield. Boudre and Baylog, keeper for Farrell. He picks up a block from Baylog and he stumbles forward for a few yards.
And Dan Reardon seems to be content with just doing a ball control kind of thing. We haven't seen him go deep yet on any of his plays, and that's something he's been doing a lot.
Hand off to Boudre. Boudre lowers the shoulder and gets the first down. And it's not talked about enough because all the time you're seeing, okay, maybe for Cardinal Mooney, maybe they really wanted to run the ball a lot so they can control the clock and limit an explosive offense like Ursuline's possessions. But Ursuline's, on the other hand, saying Cardinal Mooney doesn't have an explosive offense. If we limit their possessions, they're going to have to throw the football. And they don't like to throw the football. As Farrell's taking a shot down the field for Taylor, and it's going to be incomplete. The whole time, it looked like Riley had his back, Clark had his hand on the back of Taylor, but credit to him, that's in a spot where the ref couldn't see it. I mean, I don't know how I saw it up here.
Right, and when the ball came down, he did a good job of timing it and getting his hand up to block it away.
And they allow a little bit of hands, and I'm not sure because we were up here how much he got on him prior to the pass coming down, but he did have a great job at putting his arm across the receiver's arms and knocking that ball free on 1st down and 10. Farrell keeping it to the outside. In pursuit are the Cardinal defenders, and he gets about 5, maybe 6. And like you mentioned, Coach Reardon trying to do that ball control. This is really going to help Ursuline because Cardinal Mooney doesn't like to throw the football. And now they're going to be forced to throw it a lot more because their possessions are getting limited. Ball on the 46, 3rd down and 5. Handoff, Baylog. He bounced off the initial defender, and he maybe got about half a yard short of the 1st down marker. It looked like he might have only got about a yard, and then he bounced off. So pretty good vision. Yeah,
the hole he chose to go for just got immediately closed up, and then he had to kind of spin back toward the middle just to get what he got.
4th and 1, expect the hard count. We'll see if they can get him this time. There's no hard count. Farrell keeps it. Farrell plunges forward, and credit to DC Farrell. He didn't try to get cute and maybe make a cut. He just lowered his shoulder. No, I only need a yard. So now it's a fresh set of downs for Ursuline. They're now across the midfield mark and on the Cardinal Mooney 49. We got 7:37 remaining and counting in this first half. Baylog swarmed in the backfield. What a tackle. Dom Letlow, the sophomore, stands at 6'3", 230 pounds, and he used every bit of it to get down on Joe Baylog.
Yeah, he shot through the gap, and they're almost virtually untouched at all, and Baylog didn't have any opportunity to make an adjustment.
And they get another offsides on Cardinal Mooney, and I'll tell you what, it's not going to be a pretty film session if you're looking at your defensive line room because they have jumped 3 times now, and twice were on crucial downs. This one not as crucial when it's 2nd down and long, but that's exactly when it becomes 2nd down and 7, and it's like you got a 3-yard gain on 1st down. Officially, it's going to be 2nd and 8. Faringos in motion, hand off to Baylog. Baylog following his blockers. He's tackled high and brought down around the 44. Gets about 3 yards, and that'll set up a 3rd and manageable.
Those we go back to them jumping off sides. That's the kind of thing that happens when you really know you need to make a play and you really want to stop any momentum. You get really anxious about making the stop.
Farrell to the outside. He will get a couple, and he might have only got about 1 or back to the line of scrimmage. They're going to mark him out at the 43, so he maybe got about half a yard. And that'll bring up 4th down and 3 or 4 to go. And we'll see what John DeSantis will dial up here on 4th down and short. Likely a pass play.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly know that, you're controlling the ball and you're confident in your defense. You're going to go for this.
And they try the hard count again. Of course, they didn't get it. I mean, I'd be mind-boggled if they got another hard count to work on this drive. Bad snap. Farrell throws it. It's going to be almost intercepted. There was a broken play from the start. And look at that. Aiden Stamp back on the field. Made a nice defensive play. And Ursuline off the field. Cardinal Mooney with a huge 4th down stop. It looked like he had either A.J. Snyder but that might have been Drake Campbell in the area to make a catch. But credit Stamp. Stamp snuffed that out knowing, hey, he's got to throw it. I got to have my head in a swivel, and he did.
That's a disappointing, 4th down play. I mean, you have to execute everything, and when the snap doesn't work the way you need it to, I thought for a second there it was going to fall into the hands of
Snyder.
But it didn't, obviously.
And that would have been one of those where Snyder, who's not the fastest, he's got to get an edge and, getting around the corner and hopefully can get the 1st down. Instead, Cardinal Mooney with the ball on the 43. Good field position for the Cardinals, and Page is not able to take advantage of that on 1st down. He gets back to the line of scrimmage, but nothing more.
So if you're Mooney at this particular point in time, you're looking at 6 minutes right now left in the half. You're down 9-0. You haven't been able to get anything going offensively, but you have to look at yourself and say, we've kept this explosive offense to 9 points at this point in time. You have to take that into consideration, that you've been able to get them to not be the explosive offense that they're used to being.
And Cardinal Mooney does get the ball at a half, so if you can even get a field goal here, a touchdown could take the lead for your next play to start the half. Throw down the field. That one's going to be a little bit over the head of his intended receiver, Keith Rhodes. And Rhodes, we mentioned another guy who's pretty big. He stands at 6'3". So they've got some size on the outside that they're not used to having in past years. Gentile, he had about half a step. He beat his man, but he just couldn't quite put it in the breadbasket.
And I think that shows some maturity on the quarterback's point too. I mean, he put the ball out there. If the ball wasn't going to be caught, it wasn't going to be caught by anybody. He didn't bring it up short and make it a jump ball between two players.
And it's not like it's 2 players, one who's only playing defense and one who's only playing offense. This is high school football. All of Ursuline's defensive backs are starting receivers for the most part. 3rd and 10. Muff snap picked up and cut down around the 46 is Page. It could have been worse, but it also could have been much better, as it's going to bring up 4th down and 7 for Cardinal Mooney. And you kind of have to punt.
Yeah, if Page was able to really scoop that cleanly, he did have a clear field in front of him, and he did get a few yards on that muff snap.
And if he would have broken that tackle at the 46, he probably would have had the 1st down. Comes down to just having a little lower body strength compared to the arms of the defender, and he just couldn't quite get past the linebacker right there. Here's the punt. It's away. It's a short, wobbly one. It's going to bounce around the 24, and it's going to take a Mooney bounce and then roll back in favor of the Irish, and it's down around the 22. So with 4:35 left to go in the first half, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back here for Ursuline's next drive of the game. Back here on YSN here, Tim Corso, Keith Corso with you guys, and Ursuline's offense back on the field with 4.5 minutes to go in the first half. Got trips to the bottom of your screen, a running back in the backfield, and Taylor at the top. Handoff, Baylog up the middle. He gets about 1 or 2.
There hasn't been a whole lot there all night long. Every once in a while you see Baylog able to kind of get through a hole real quick and get a good-sized pickup, but he hasn't been able to do that so far.
Second and long, handoff again to Baylog. Keeper for Farrell. He pulls it on the read option. He stays in bounds and spins back. He gets the 1st down, and he's going to be around the 33-yard line where that will move the chains.
So with 4 minutes left, Ursuline's thinking, obviously, we want to possess this ball all the way to the end of the half, and you see that in their play selection. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised again here when you get to a really favorable down situation to see them try to go vertical a little bit. They did that a lot against Villa Angela.
Man in motion was Taylor. They threw it out of the backfield to Taylor. He catches it, and he is going to be knocked out of bounds around midfield. But there is a flag on the play, probably some kind of hold or illegal block on Ursuline. It was a motion man across. He caught the ball after he finished his route, and then it was probably behind the play, it looked like, which probably wouldn't have impacted the gain. And that's one of the worst penalties to have because you know you have the first down and then some, regardless of what happened. And the refs are huddling and talking about this. We'll see what they do.
So apparently not as obvious as they thought, and I'm just not exactly sure what it could possibly be.
If it's a holding, it's obviously one that, if you're Ursuline, it's a killer because it didn't affect the play because it was well behind the play. And Devontae Taylor didn't have anyone in front of him. I mean, anyone behind him trying to chase after him. There was really no one there.
Could they be discussing an illegal man downfield? I mean, trying to. I don't know.
It happened pretty quickly, so what had to be immediate. Maybe Ursuline thought it was a run play. It is going to be on the Irish. They are backing them up. I want to know, of course, what it is because it's a 5-yard penalty if it's an illegal man downfield.
It's going 10.
And they're going 10 yards, so probably some kind of hold or block in the back, and that can really derail a drive on 1st and 10, now 1st and 20.
You don't see that kind of conference between officials when it's a holding call. Usually it's pretty clear.
Concrete, yeah. So Farrell trying to get his team back, now 1st and 15, as they mark it up the field a little bit, so it's a spot foul. He's looking to throw. Shot down the field, and it's going to be nearly intercepted. Braden Mahone, and, I mean, they wanted a little bit of – there was no pass interference there, but you could have argued an illegal contact call because Kingston Powell was on Ray JV, and he pushed him out of bounds when the ball was nowhere near JV. But that's still – you can't impact the receiver past 5 yards from the line of scrimmage whether the ball's in the air or not. And he clearly extended his arms. 3:26, throwing. Over the middle, almost caught by Taylor. Instead, that's behind him. Farrell didn't have enough to lead his receiver, and now that's going to bring up 3rd and 15. And this is kind of what happens when you get behind the sticks. There's not many plays you can call when you get to 2nd and 3rd and long.
This is one of the things that I think I noticed in the game last week, even though the Irish, beat Cheney easily, D.C. Farrell wasn't quite as sharp on some of his passes as he had been in some previous games, and some of these are a little bit behind people, and we're going to see what kind of an adjustment he makes.
Drop him at the throw. A high snap again as Farrell's looking to throw. He throws it, and that's caught by Taylor around the 37. And this is an interesting play call for Coach Reardon because you are well past the 10 yards to go mark. They are sending out the punting unit. It's going to be 4th and 5. You play field position here when you are shutting the other team out with less than 3 minutes to go in the first half. They have 1 timeout left, and they haven't been able to throw the football today.
Let's see who the punter is going to be.
Because it's usually DC, and once again he's going to be the punter on this play because he's going to roll out a bit, and if he has a hole, he might very well try and take it. It's going to have to be a long sprint, though, because he has to get to the 42-yard line. Snap, down, kick is up, and the kick is nearly blocked. It's going to bounce around the 36 and take an Irish bounce inside the 25, inside the 20, and that's going to die down around the 15-yard line. A really good punt for D.C. Farrell.
Yeah, it took a nice roll, and I think you and I were both thinking, this is maybe where if he sees an opening. And one of the things that we saw is that Cardinal Mooney got really close to that ball. They made some good penetration, and we're just a few feet away from the kicker.
A few feet could be the difference between a ball going back the other way for a touchdown or great field position for Cardinal Mooney and poor field position when you're on your own 15 with 2:17 left to go in the half and 1 timeout. this is where Coach Reardon was like, you know what? This is where we want to make them go down the field and score 85 yards in 2 minutes. They haven't been able to score at all in the long sustained drives. What makes me think they can score in 2 minutes?
And if you're Cardinal Mooney, you're only down by 9 points here, and the last thing in the world you want to do is make a mistake this deep in your own territory. So you should think that there's going to be some conservative play calling here.
They handed off up the middle of the fullback and rocked immediately. Kevin Boudreaux led the boom. That was Brady Desmond.
And they're back to the I formation again, using the extra blocker in the fullback.
They got 3 or 4 yards, and that's what makes the fullback run so safe if you need short yardage, because it's almost immediate. There's no waiting for penetration to get to the backfield. It's immediately handing it off right behind the quarterback, as it looks like Cardinal Mooney takes a timeout. I'm not sure officially until they mark it off on the scoreboard. It is Ursuline, though.
Okay.
Ursuline wants the ball back because they see that Cardinal Mooney is just running the ball. And if they busted a big 10, 15-yard play there, maybe they'd pick it up. But they're seeing that Mooney wants no part of turning it over, and they're just trying to run this clock out.
So if again, without a first down here, you're going to see another quick timeout, and you're going to hope to get this ball back with a little bit of time left, and this is when you can try to go vertical if you're Ursuline. But first of all, you've got to stop them from getting a first down here to get this clock to work in your favor.
And that would force a punter for Cardinal Mooney and Desmond, who hasn't had the best punch in terms of distance, to punt the ball past midfield, which at this spot, if he doesn't get a first down, it's going to be a tough punt to get it past midfield, setting Ursuline up with good field position. But Mooney's in a spot where they know they want to keep this ball on the ground. And even if you're in a 3rd and long, you kind of have to run the ball if that's your game plan. Because then if they throw an incomplete pass, Ursuline saves a timeout. 2nd and 6. Going to hand it off, and nowhere to go for Page. He was met by A.J. Snyder, and the great thing about that play, if you're an Irish fan, is Snyder was being blocked while he wrapped one arm around Page and kind of pinned him against his offensive lineman, and then once he got free of the lineman, he dragged him to the ground himself. That's a really good play by the junior.
So you've got 3rd and long, 3rd and like 9 at this particular point in time. If you're Mooney, I don't think, I've seen stranger things, you're, again, being down 9-0 only. You don't take a big chance on a pass downfield where it could be intercepted. And if you're going to maybe go for something long to try to catch them off guard, but you also don't want to stop the clock. So I'm letting my mind work here. It's, keeping the ball on the ground seems to be the thing that you do. If you throw it, it's incomplete. You're going to stop the clock. You're going to leave Ursuline with a timeout somewhere along the line. So keeping the ball on the ground seems like it's the only choice here, and make the Irish spend that last timeout so that they do get the ball back. When they do get the ball back, they don't have any timeouts to work with.
My only thought to why you might throw it here is because Ursuline probably gets this ball by midfield, if not closer to the end zone. 2 minutes with half a field is nothing for an offense that can throw the ball. So maybe you do try taking a chance and throwing the ball. They are going to roll out with Gentile. He's looking to throw. He's getting pursued by Snyder, and he is brought down as soon as he throws that football. They want a flag because that ball did not get past the line of scrimmage, and they do throw a flag. I'm not sure if it's a holding or if it's a intentional grounding, because the 3 rules is there needs to be a receiver in the area. If the ball and there's not a receiver in the area, it needs to be thrown out of bounds and past the line of scrimmage if he's out of the pocket.
But I think, from my view, that the pursuit and the tackle impacted
the throw,
that ball. And so it didn't seem to me like it was an intentional grounding penalty, because as soon as he was getting rid of the ball, he was getting wrapped up from behind. The ball's not going to go anywhere but in the ground like it did.
Right. Of course, it's tough to tell because, yes, he was out of the pocket. No, the ball did not get back to the line of scrimmage. But if he was getting contacted as they wave the flag off because there's no intentional grounding, it'll be 4th down and 9, because from our angle, it was hard to tell because we only saw both their backs. It looked Gentile definitely wanted up the throw before he got hit. It was tough to tell if he got hit as soon as he threw it or after. The refs saw it, and they said it's going to be waved off.
And one of the things you do as an official is in a play like that is that you throw the flag, because you generally can't throw it late. But you throw the flag and then you correct it when you talk to your fellow officials, which is what they did.
So now Desmond can be punting the ball from around his own 5.
Do they send them a bunch of people? I don't think so now. They're backing off.
And they are. But even then, they still almost got there. It's a line drive, and it hits the back of, I believe, a Cardinal Mooney defender. And
maybe it didn't.
Because that ball changed direction drastically. That ball was bouncing towards the middle of the field. And I don't know if I'm trying to find Coach Reardon to see if he's being very emphatic, which he's not. So it must have just taken a weird bounce because it was a wobbly line drive.
Yeah, and they almost got it. I mean, when you saw some of those middle defenders pull back, I thought for a second that they were just going to try to set up a return because you are generally going to be able to receive the ball in pretty good field position. But they sent some people on the outside, and they almost got to it.
And that's something that when they send all the pressure, they can definitely get to the ball like most teams can. But that's what Ursuline does so well is they don't send a lot of guys sometimes, and they still almost get to the quarterback.
And their defense has been predicated, I think, all season long on speed. The speed to the ball and the speed with being able to keep up with wide receivers and things of that nature. And they're coming out real fast here.
They're trying to get sped up and get this Mooney team out of position. They don't have the numbers for the men on the outside, which I think Farrell sees. He's looking to throw. He's taking a shot down the field for Taylor and nearly picked off. He had Taylor open, but he underthrew it, and Dennis Clark almost caught it. That would have been a huge play for Cardinal Mooney where they could have just ran the clock out right there because they would have had the ball deep inside their own territory. But another throw underthrown from D.C. Farrell. If that's not underthrown, it might be a touchdown.
So now you have to start thinking about, do you pick off a little bit of this yardage? You still have 1:43 left.
Man in motion. They're going to keep it on the ground and at least get that clock running. That's Patterson. Patterson, he's a little shifty, and he gets thrown down around the 45, and he has the first down inside Cardinal Mooney territory.
So they're going to set the ball, and I don't think he got out of bounds.
Clock is running, 1:35 and counting. Ursuline moving fast. 4 receivers and a running back. Farrell looking to throw. Across the middle. And almost intercepted again. Aiden Stamp, he had it in his hands, but I think the combination of him being kind of squatted down and 2 players running in front of him, he probably wasn't really expecting that ball.
No, they were the biggest defender, the biggest player to keep this ball out of the hands of Mooney was a Mooney player because they were just at the ball at the same time, and it was bouncing around.
It's about 3 or 4 balls that should have been picked off from D.C. Farrell today already. High snap. Throw over the middle, and that's caught by Patterson at the 34.
And he gets the first down.
And that's the big, as it stops the clock for the time being. And right there, Ursuline with a timeout in 1:20, you know you have plenty of time with your explosive offense, but you got to have some kind of sense of urgency. Throw. Caught. Nice diving catch. Devontae Taylor has the first down. And that was a low throw, but only where Taylor could get to the football. And when you're 6'3" and have that length, that's a good spot to throw the football.
And it had to be there because he was surrounded by 3 other Cardinals.
So clock rolling under a minute now at 58 and counting. Farrell with the ball, looking to throw. He's taking a shot for the end zone. Ray JV, touchdown Ursuline.
Got to be careful.
The sophomore gets an unsportsmanlike penalty call as soon as the play is over. And I want to confirm that it is JV because you hate to say it was a different player. That wasn't the one who got the flag on him. And it does look like that was, that does not look like it was Ray JV, but I can't see the number.
No, the numbers are hard to read on these jerseys, so, we kind of sorry that we don't exactly know who it is.
I believe it is JV. JV caught the diving catch, and as soon as you said he's got to be careful, he starts jawing to the Cardinal defender. And at this point, it's all about what the officials hear. Because you've seen players stand over other players on both sides of this game and not getting flagged, talking trash. Right there,
yeah.
There's an official right in front of him. So even if he said something small, he might have said, you know what, I heard that one. We got to throw the flag and kind of set the tone. And now this could be important because if it's 15 yards, it's on the extra point attempt, potentially.
Yeah, Mooney would have an opportunity to decide what it is they wanted to do here. take it on the kickoff or apply it here.
You almost have to imagine they take it here because the kickoff, I mean, you have 51 seconds, and you probably get the ball around midfield on kickoff. And they must be applying it on the kickoff because Ursuline's going to go for 2 here. Actually, they're going to kick the extra point and try to make it into a 16-point game. There's a stoppage for the time being. They send a player off. Maybe he didn't have his mouth guard in or something.
Some equipment issue here.
They send him off the field, and they get another man on the field. That was Clark, as Blue Jackson will come off the sideline to come relieve him for the extra point attempt. Snap is down, kick is up, and the kick is good. 16-0 is the Ursuline lead after the touchdown pass from D.C. Farrell to Ray Javy. And, of course, Ursuline with a 16-0 lead. We'll be right back here for the impending kickoff. Here on YSN, Tim Corso, Keith Corso with you, and ball on the 25 now after the 15-yard unsportsmanlike from Javy.
And that scoring drive shows you why it is important not to spend your timeouts early in a half, because Ursuline had all of their timeouts. Being able to take those on that last drive of Cardinal Mooney's enabled them to get, obviously, the ball back and to get this scoring drive and lengthen their lead just a little bit.
Here's the boot down around the 25. Good kick from Tabak. It's going to be taken in right there from Powell. Powell has nowhere to go, and he's wrapped up at the 35. He was looking for a hole, but there was just too much blanket coverage by that Ursuline kick team, and that's where the Cardinals will start the ball. And now I know you have one timeout left in 46 seconds on your own 35, but if you're down 9-0, you can take it into the half. Down 16-0, you feel like you have to kind of push the envelope here.
I was just about to say you run your 2 plays and go.
Right.
And go in and don't risk anything happening. 46 seconds isn't an awful lot,
no.
But if you happen to turn it over, you have seen how the Ursuline offense can go vertical, and when the ball is on target, you certainly don't want to have this 16-0 game become even, a 23-0 game.
Gentile back in at quarterback and seeing what their last drive was, they probably are going to run it. But they are going to drop back to throw. Gentile looking to throw. Caught on the screen pass. Page has blockers. Page has space. And a nice tackle after a nice block. And ball's down around the 48. Clock stopping for the time to move the chains. A good little screen pass right there. Good play call dialed up from the Cardinals.
Yeah, the edge rushers came through, and it left that whole section in the middle free for the screen pass.
They're
Nicely
taking
executed.
Way too much time off the clock right now. You're at 22 and counting. Looking to run the ball with Page. Page gets nothing, and you're going to call a timeout here, which makes you think they're going to at least try taking maybe one shot over the middle of the field and then one for the end zone. Because at this point, I mean, you don't call your timeout there if you run the ball unless you want to at least take a shot for the end zone.
At this point in time, yeah, you've got second down, you've basically got 3 shots to take down the field.
But you have to be careful, of course, because if you do throw a Hail Mary, and you never know with high school quarterbacks, if it's underthrown and picked off, there's only defensive lineman back to try, offensive lineman, trying to chase down a speedy returner. And that's with the whole field in front of you and blockers as well. It gets a little, testy, and you're trying to, do you take that risk? But right here, it feels like they're at least going to try taking a shot for the end zone. So
the officials put 2 seconds back on the clock. At one point, it looked just a second ago, it said 16. Now it's 18. And unless you think that your quarterback has the arm to make this Hail Mary into the end zone, you look for a quick developing play about halfway down the field, about 25 yards down the field to the sidelines, of course, that allow you to stop the clock. Anything inbounds that's down the field is going to take too much time to get down there and set again.
So now we'll see what Cardinal Mooney likes to do on the 48-yard line. Of Quick little out route. It's going to be caught in bounds and probably nowhere to go as they do get the first down. With 9 seconds, you're going to see a get to the ball quickly and spike it. Clock is rolling. 9 seconds, 8. They're going to get a spike off, and they will. And it didn't look like Gentile really had a spike, and they're going to let this play go for the time being. John Frangos picks it up. He's going to walk into the end zone. So for right now, they're going to talk on the field. It never looked like Gentile had possession of the ball on the snap. It never looked like he did. And they're going to call an Ursuline touchdown.
Wow.
It was a spike attempt from Vince Gentile, and when the ball was snapped, he never gained possession of the snap and tried to throw it down.
Now you got two coaches on the field for Cardinal Mooney, and so they need to be careful or else they'll be gone.
This is one of those things where it's an underrated aspect of the game, and you can talk about it too. If he gets possession of that ball and throws it down, doesn't matter, with one hand, two hands, whatever, it's an incomplete pass. But he fumbled the snap. He never gained full possession. Kind of just tossed it to the ground in his hands. John Frangos, credit to the senior captain, he picked it up and said, worst case scenario, they blow this play dead. Best case, I'm walking in for 6.
And the officials was following him down the field.
And they call incomplete.
There it is.
Ursuline, now they want an explanation. They're going to get their explanation. But it's one of those things where it's a tough call for a referee because you aren't expecting to have to look at the quarterback. But right there, they kind of it's hard to say he didn't gain possession when it's right under center. I don't know.
I saw the snap. I didn't see a muff snap. I saw a movement to push the ball down, but I didn't see it close enough to be able to tell.
I knew that he didn't look like he had firm possession, but he might have had enough possession to call it an incomplete pass.
And that's why they tell you, when you do something like that, you make an over-exaggerated move to put the ball down. You don't need to be subtle about it. You need to spike it down in the ground with some force.
And I'm confused here because Mooney got that ball around the 42-yard line of Ursuline. Correct me if I'm wrong or not. They're moving this back to midfield. I can't be the only one who sees this. An incomplete pass puts that ball around the 42. I'm not sure. As now they're moving it because that ball was around the 48-yard line before the pass. They got the first down after about 11 yards. It was at least to the 42-yard line of Ursuline, and they do move it to 40. And that referee, I think he's just kind of listening to the side judge. He has no clue where to put the football.
No.
He moved it forward 2 yards to the 46, then started looking at the sideline and walking gingerly.
But that doesn't seem like a right spot to me.
Because it was around the 42. And I don't know what the discussion is.
Well, now you have Ursuline sideline saying, "What? Oh, okay. Now they're going to get a yard back."
Right. Which every yard in the long attempt might matter on a Hail Mary, whether it's out of the back of the end zone or not. And Gentile with one more heave likely before this hits halftime.
Nope.
They're just going to hand it, and he might try to get out of bounds, and he will not. It doesn't matter. And that's halftime. I'm surprised Page didn't try bouncing it out of bounds. He would have had a second left on the clock if he bounced it out of bounds for a 30-yard pass attempt. Instead, they didn't take any risks. They run it out, and the clock will hit 0 in the first half. It's 16-0 Ursuline at halftime in the Holy War. We'll be right back in about 20 minutes for the start of the second half between Cardinal Mooney and Ursuline. We've got a good game, and we'll be back with you after this. And we're back here on YSN Live. We're in the start of the third quarter. Team Corso, Keith Corso with the guys, and it's a 16-0 Irish lead over Cardinal Mooney. After the first half of the Holy War, Ursuline will kick off the Cardinal Mooney to start the second half. What did you see in that first half, and what are you looking forward to seeing in the second from both teams?
Well, for the longest time, Mooney keeps this game close, a 9-0 game, and then that late touchdown that they gave up to the Irish puts a little bit more of a cushion for Ursuline. Ursuline, on the other hand, seems to be content with mostly just controlling the ball and the pace of the game. It wasn't until later on in the end of that first half that they decided to try to go a little bit more vertical. And maybe we see a little bit more of that as they move forward here.
And they have the kickoff to start the second half. Maybe they want to get aggressive on the opening kick. Maybe when they just run their defense back out there. But either way, Ursuline, they're in a spot where they can do pretty much whatever they want on offense in terms of what kind of play calling you want to do. While Cardinal Mooney's going to have to start picking up the tempo if they're not going to throw the ball a lot. Tayback will kick off to start the second half. Caught around the 10. Taken in there by Kingston. And that's going to be a little bit of daylight, and then he gets wrapped up quickly. Kingston Powell down to the 24, and that's where Cardinal Mooney will begin the opening possession of the second half.
If you're Mooney, I think you'd like to be able to really run off a big play or two to kind of get some energy back into the offense. There's nothing like a big reception down the field, 30 yards, that can get your offense more excited. I'm just not quite sure that they want to go for that much yardage, that chunky yardage. They've tried a couple of medium range passes, but we'll see what they try to do here.
Because then it turns into, I mean, you've thrown one interception already. It's kind of on a 3rd and 21 where you have to throw the ball, but they're just not comfortable throwing the ball. You can tell consistently, but they're going to have to if they want to win this football game. So Gentile back in under center. He's got Cam Page in at fullback, Aiden Page in at running back. It's going to be a pass to start the possession, throw down the field, and that's going to be well over the head of both JV and Gomez. They were a little tangled up, but while there's note to note, there is no uncatchable in high school football. It's a pass interference regardless. Strange rule because, it could be completely a misfire between the receiver and the quarterback and the receiver, but it could still be pass interference. Just a little note there as that first down and 10 pass went awry. So now back under center again. I formation, just 2 receivers, a couple of tight ends in there. Looking to block. Little pitch play. And Page, nowhere to go. Back to the line of scrimmage, not an inch more.
You see this Irish defense become such a strength of this team, and I just can't help but go back to the first game against Walsh Jesuit where they run the ball for over 430 yards, and you wondered what was going to happen with this defense, but they've developed over time, they found a personality, and they found what works for them, and they just keep making plays.
Gentile looking to throw. Quick pass, and that's caught. First down marker. Did he get it? They're going to mark him. It looks to be enough for the first down. It's going to be a nice pickup of about 10, 11 on 3rd and 10. And you mentioned that Walsh Jesuit game. I mean, I remember sitting up here doing the game, and I don't know if I said it on the air or whatnot, but I said it at some point. I was like, Ursuline's run defense, their defensive line looks like it's going to be an issue and not in a good way. Because, yes, they only have a 3-man front, but they weren't getting any penetration. Granted, a good offensive line in Walsh, but they really picked things up. They kind of flipped the switch from week 1 to week 2, and they've been dominant ever since. Looking to throw over the middle, and that's intercepted. That looks like that's Joe Baylog. John Frangos down the sideline. And, I mean, I love the black jerseys, but it's impossible to tell a number. I mean, Joe Baylog and John Frangos have very similar builds, and that was one where Frangos in the middle linebacker spot, he made a nice catch, and he returned it for a good amount of yards, and now they're inside the 30, and, because Baylog plays a little with defense, that's the stumper right there.
And I think the thing that made that play is that the linebackers recognized that play really quickly. They got into pursuit of the quarterback, and they also dropped into coverage the remaining linebackers, and that's what made that play. They recognized so quickly.
And Frangos, we saw that called back touchdown he had on the end of the first half. He makes the interception there. That's not going to get called back as Boudre up the middle. He kind of bounces it for a slight bit. He gets a couple yards, and that's going to bring up a second down. Boudre, he's only a junior. He's he's one of their up men on their turn teams because he can run, and they're so often kicking it to the up men. But he's also he's a power back. He's got some speed, but he really lowers the boom when he runs as he whiffs on a block right there as Frangos gets out to the 19-yard line.
And that's one of the things about the Irish offense this year. It's a little bit different. Is that there are 4 different guys who can get this ball at any particular point in time. Where in the past they've kind of relied on one person and then another back to give them a little bit of a rest.
And those 4 guys, of course, Joe Baylock, John Frangos, Kevin Boudreau, and Vinny Fecco, which if you're hearing that last name listening and watching this game, yes, he is the son of former Cardinal Mooney State Championship head coach P.J. Fecco. So got a Fecco playing for the Irish. And hand off to Boudreau, up the middle, maybe a yard or 2. And they got the football, but the play was blown dead before it was stripped out of Boudreau's hands. That's going to bring up a third down play.
It was a good job by Farrell to handle that snap, which was a little bit high, and get it to the running back.
Been a bit of an issue as it was on that play. As Farrell's keeping it on the RPO, he throws to Taylor and off the fingertips. That should have been caught for a touchdown. Devontae Taylor had 6 in his hands, but he could not corral it. We'll see if Dan Reardon, it's 3rd and 8 now. The scoreboard had me messed up. It's not 4th down, but that's where you would have liked to have 6 because that's not a catch that Taylor drops often.
No, the ball was right there for him.
And there's a reason this guy's getting recruited by a number of Division I schools because he catches the ball and he's so sure-handed. As this brings up 3rd down and 8. Keeper for Farrell. He's looking to bounce to the outside. He has space. He cuts inside. What a shim and what a shake. I mean, he put a little hesitation and cut inside. D.C. Farrell put 6 more on the board for Ursuline.
Yeah, he has that move, which we've seen a couple of times this year, where he runs and he cuts, and then he sort of turns his body sideways and just kind of scoots into the end zone or makes that last few yards of the play, and we've seen him with that kind of run all year long.
That's a 13-yard touchdown run for D.C. Farrell, 22-0 Ursuline, penning this extra point attempt as they're sending Tabak out to kick. A pretty good first drive for Ursuline after forcing that turnover. They now turn into 7 points with the extra point from Tabak. Ursuline up 23-0 with 9.5 left to go in the third quarter, teetering into that running clock territory. And we're back here on YSN. Tim Corso, Keith Corso with you guys, and I'm just talking about heading over to the Golden Dawn after this game, which I'm allowed to say that because they sponsor YSN. I'm not plugging, as of course we did the weekly show there for the last 10 weeks. Keith, what are your thoughts on that last Ursuline sequence of offense and defense?
Well, they just keep plugging away, and you're starting to see the versatility of the offense.
This onside kick attempt, and it's going to be fallen on by, it looks like Ursuline. It was met initially by a couple of Cardinals, and we'll see who fell on the football, who came away with it, and Ursuline's pointing their way, and it is Ursuline football.
I wish I would have said what I was thinking, because now, hindsight, but we've seen this before where Dan Reardon gets a lead, and he makes, their team goes down, and then he sees an opportunity to really just
kick them while they're down.
In a way, yeah.
Really.
It's just let's just fire this home right now, and let's put it away. And he's done it time and time again, where they've done things like this and done the onside kick, and it pays off if this becomes a scoring drive.
I'm guessing that's what you said. We're going to say at the start of the
exactly,
and so you predicted it, of course. And we didn't hear the words out of your mouth, but we'll give you credit for predicting it anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have to trust me on this one.
Yeah. I mean, we've mentioned it multiple times already this game, and so predicting that's not far-fetched for an Ursuline team because they do it so often.
Right.
And right there, a false start, so they get the onside, and they go back 5 yards immediately. And now they're at the 48-yard line of Cardinal Mooney. A touchdown here really puts Ursuline in the driver's seat. 23-0, you feel comfortable against a team who hasn't scored. But 30-0, and it's been a while since Ursuline shut out Cardinal Mooney in this game. It's DC Farrell. He slipped, and you got to hold your breath because that was non-contact. He's okay. He's getting up. But anytime a player slips on the turf planting their foot, you always hold your breath.
And we are seeing I'm seeing a bit of a pattern here. He has had to handle higher snaps quite a bit tonight.
Right.
He didn't jump. Almost got the guy to jump, but he didn't.
And now it's 2nd down and 17. So quite a bit of ways to go for the Irish offense. But they can get that easily if they get to one of their playmakers. Farrell throwing it over the middle, and that's a little short of Patterson. And that's going to bring up 3rd down and 17, which now this might be 4-down territory if you get about 5 or 6 yards here. And
this is of all the positive things that have been happening with the Irish offense, this is the thing that I think I've seen over the past couple of weeks is that that DC Farrell's passing hasn't been as crisp and on target as we might have seen in some of the earlier games.
Looking to throw over the middle, and that's behind, and he was getting hit as he was throwing, so you can't really expect much there from DC. And, of course, the onside kick doesn't pay off, but it might pay off to where you pin Cardinal Mooney back deeper. You ran you ran a couple of minutes off the clock, for one. If this is a good punt, you pin them inside the 10-yard line potentially versus them getting the ball around the 25-30. So some positive to potentially see there. Snap. Farrell gets it away. It's a good high punt. It's going to bounce out of bounds at the 13. It might have crossed a few yards higher than that. We'll see where they mark it.
Whoa.
As he's marked.
Okay, now they're coming back
he's
up.
Walking it up.
Okay.
I'd guess around the 15, 16-yard line. We'll see. And they give it at the 15. So technically the onside kick does pay off in terms of field position, but not really the way that Ursuline wanted it to.
No, the last thing in the world you wanted was to start off that drive with an illegal procedure penalty that sets you in that 1st and 15, and then you have an opportunity with a couple of, frankly, open receivers, and the ball just wasn't to them.
Right.
And the last one was tough pass to make because they brought everybody, except for a couple of defensive backs to cover the receivers. They brought everybody up on a blitz, and it forced him to make the throw, and it's hard to make an accurate throw when you've got everybody in your face.
It's now a little different package for Cardinal Mooney, and at quarterback is going to be Keith Rhodes. He's listed as a quarterback on the roster. He's got 2 backs in the backfield. Maybe they're looking for some kind of spark because he's 6'3", 190 pounds, and they put him at receiver prior to this possession. So he's got some speed. Maybe they're looking for some more running from their quarterback to kind of keep this Ursuline defense honest, because Vince Gentile wasn't running much.
So now it looks like he's going to be lined up as a receiver,
unless he's just getting the play. But I don't think he is. We'll see. Maybe it's hard to. I think he is going back in at quarterback. So maybe they want to keep this Ursuline defense from just keying on the running backs and let the quarterback get the keeper. I'm not sure, but going into the playoffs, when you're a competitive team like Cardinal Mooney, you don't need indecision in the quarterback room. Keeper, Rhodes looking to throw. Oh. He evades 1. He evades 2. He's scrambling. He's looking for the edge, and he is going to get nothing. He is hit as he releases that football. Ursuline's coaches want an intentional grounding, and really there was no receiver in the area, but it's hard to tell when you get hit as you're throwing.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happened earlier in the first half where as soon as the ball was being released, he got tackled. The quarterback gets tackled from behind, so there's just no way that you can make an accurate pass when you're going down like that.
And there may have been no receiver. There may have been 3 receivers, but when that ball doesn't get there because you're hit, it's hard. It's almost impossible to throw a flag there as a referee unless you have something evident. So there's 7:50 left in the third. 3rd and 7 for Cardinal Mooney.
They're bringing everybody.
Little bubble screen. A lot of space to work, but nowhere to go as brought down around the 21-yard line is J.J. Stevens, and it's going to be 4th down and a few. It's hard to imagine them going for this here. They're going to send the punting unit out. It's only a couple yards, but if you don't get it here, you basically kiss this game away.
Yeah, and it's there's 7:23 left in this quarter, and you've got the whole fourth quarter left. When you have to think about the fact that you're just a big play or two away from cutting into this lead, and you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot by going for it at this position.
Punt gets off, and it's going to take a Cardinal Mooney bounce, then back to the Ursuline favor as that ball's down officially at midfield. And Ursuline will have pretty good field position once again. And they're leading, of course, 23-0, 6:56 left to go in the third. And this Ursuline offense is just 50 yards away from putting this game into a running clock, which Cardinal Mooney can't really move the ball quickly as we've seen. It's going to be nearly impossible when they're down with a running clock, if that's the case.
So the question is, what kind of Ursuline offense do you see here? Do you see the more ball control offense that we saw earlier in the first half, or do we see the offense that tries to spread the field and go vertical a little bit more?
And maybe here you just kind of see the spot where, hey, we want to get up by a lot, and right here, air it out, get the running clock going, and you're good as that's liaison around the end, and he gets a first down. But right here, you pretty much got any play call in the playbook open to you if you're Ursuline, because you're up 23-0, as we've repeatedly said, and it's all in your court right now.
This is what makes defending the Irish offense difficult, and it's going to make it difficult for teams in the playoffs because you just don't quite know what the tact is going to be for their offense. Are they going to try to pound it up the middle and just grind out some yards and ball control it? Are they going to do sweeps like this? Are they going to try to go vertical, or are they going to try to do the quick hits over the middle? They've done all of that, and you never are quite sure what you're going to see. And that's the chess game that's involved in football between coaches, between offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. What am I defending, and how do I minimize, in many cases, the damage that can be done by an offense that does so many different things?
And there's a penalty on Cardinal Mooney. It's probably a personal foul because they're walking this ball forward to about this 18-yard line. And I just I've been doing some research, and because Cardinal Mooney's getting shut out, and I'll tell you after this play. And motions Patterson, looking for the edge. He might have it. He gets the edge for a moment, but brought down after a 3-yard gain. As far as Max Preps goes back, Ursuline, and that's like 0-2. Ursuline hasn't shut out Cardinal Mooney, at least in that recent span of 20-something years. There's only been one shutout in the rivalry since then, and that was in 2006, 18 years ago. Cardinal Mooney won 10-0. And since then, you've had a couple scores where one team, and I think it's been Ursuline winning those games where Cardinal Mooney's only scored 6 or 7. But I'm sure it's been what hasn't been this century since Cardinal Mooney's been shut out by Ursuline, which is the case right now. Here's the throw to Taylor, back of the end zone, and you could hear it in your voice. He said, because Devontae Taylor got tugged, and that was as obvious as it is that the sky is blue.
Yeah, sometimes you just you see these penalties, and they're subtle. This was we've been beat, and we need to prevent the touchdown, so we're going to grab. And that's the only option that they had to prevent the touchdown at that point.
Because right there, it only doesn't move you to the 1-yard line like in the NFL. It's college rule. It moves you, at this point, instead of 15 yards, half the distance to the goal. But it's still going to, chop that right in half, and you're going to have the 6-yard line. They officially mark it around the 7. And Ursuline's going to have a chance at 1st and goal inside the 10 to 4 shots to punch this in the end zone here. You got to imagine it's 4-down territory. Farrell trying to keep it. Farrell trying to get somewhere. He might have got a yard.
And if there's one thing that you notice is that yards up the middle against this Cardinal defense have been tough to come by for Ursuline. And they've gotten the yards when they've gone off tackle or gone wide. Obviously, found some big plays here and there. But if there's a thing about the Cardinal defense, it's that they've been playing the run up the middle pretty well.
That's a high snap over DC's head. He's going to have to fall on it, and he does. Smart play. Because if he tries picking that ball up and going on the run and trying to make something there, if he doesn't pick that ball up cleanly on first try, that could go the other way for 6.
So tell me there's not going to be a significant amount of time this week in preparing for the playoff game next week, making sure that snaps are not high. I mean, this is one that got away, but this is not the first time tonight where DC has had to go up and get a high snap.
Now it's all in the head of the center. It's a good snap there. Little screen pass, and it went for nothing. It lost yards, I believe, to Devontae Taylor at the 30. It's a low throw, and now you're in 4th and 20. Gosh, 4th and forever. I imagine it's 4th and 30 since it's goal to go.
Yeah, you just go for the touchdown in the end zone,
or you just try cutting off some yards for Anthony Tabak. Because he kicked a 40-yarder last game. To get the 40-yard attempt today, you'd need 7 yards here. Not impossible, obviously.
They're expecting something deep here.
And DC's going to look to run. He's going to reverse field. He's going to look to throw. He throws it for the end zone. Taylor goes up the ladder. And incomplete. He wanted a flag, but you're really not going to get a flag when he throws it into a traffic. It may have been. He might have got contacted early, but you're never going to see anything there. And
well, you've got one Ursuline receiver, and you've got 5 defenders around him. They had enough time because the ball took so long getting there to be able to converge on the receiver.
Now I've been told by coaches and of course Tabak himself that he has pushed the limits of 50 yards in practice with pads.
Yeah.
Now it's not with a defensive line rushing at you, but I don't know if they're sending him out here. And
well, that was a 4th down play.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was 3rd down.
No, that was 4th down. So it's a conversion it's a turnover on downs.
So it is. Excuse me, that was 4th down, and so now we got the answer that it wouldn't have been a field goal attempt.
Right.
But so now it's 1st and 10 for Cardinal Mooney on the 30-yard line. Looking to throw his Rhodes. He throws it, and that one is nearly intercepted and then also nearly caught right there by Rocco Gentile. That's a tough throw for any quarterback to make across the field opposite hash and over a defender.
And that's a lot to expect, for a quarterback to come into a game like this, and he hasn't been playing a quarterback all night long.
And most of the season.
And now you're in a situation where you're expecting him to make plays and to make these throws when he just hasn't really been prepared to do it.
And just from watching this, it really hasn't been Gentile not making good decisions. He made that one poor interception pass at the beginning of the half, but before then, he really hadn't made a bad decision. He made some good decisions. Maybe his balls weren't quite where they needed to be, but if you felt like your quarterback was a more accurate thrower in Rhodes, why wasn't he playing all year? Because clearly Rhodes is more of a mobile quarterback. So he could run better than Gentile. If he could throw better, he would have been playing already. That's at least my thought process, because unless Gentile's hurt, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
And it could be, like you said earlier, offense and yardage on offense has been tough to come by. And so sometimes you just try something different. You try a quarterback with a bit of a different style of play.
And it quite literally can't hurt.
Yeah.
Because you're still scoreless whether you get nothing or you don't make the change. It's either way you're in the same spot. So Rhodes on 2nd and 10. You'd imagine at any point it's 4-down territory. Unless you're backed up 4th and 25, you have to imagine they're going to have to go for it at some point in their own territory. Rushing the quarterback and almost getting there was Snyder. He's still being pursued. He throws it, and that's going to be out of reach of Carlos Gomez. It was almost Snyder bringing him down in the backfield for a big loss. Instead, it was he was falling away from Rhodes, so he couldn't really grab him. And Rhodes was able to evade the pocket and get it out for a chance for his receiver to make the play.
Well, the Irish have put consistent pressure on Rhodes since he's been in the ball game. They've been sending an extra man or two, and they've been putting that pressure, and he's had to run out of the pocket, and it's very tough to make those accurate throws when you're avoiding a really strong rush and you're moving. And so that's been the problem that he's had here.
Rhodes looking to throw, screen pass, and that was a bad throw. Just to put it point blank, Rocco Gentile was the intended receiver, and there was some kind of miscommunication. It feels like. I
feel like he let the ball go. whoever it was looks like it was Gentile. He let the ball go, thinking that there was another receiver behind him that ball might have been intended for. It's hard to tell whether or not it was overthrown from this position or not. But almost he acted like he thought that there was somebody behind him that was in a better position to catch that ball.
And as Gentile, you got to realize that it's a screen pass. There's no one else coming for the ball, or it's an illegal man downfield. And that ball's a low kick. It's going to bounce the way of Cardinal Mooney down around the 37-38, and Ursuline will start the possession with the ball with 3:55 left to go in the third quarter. Start of the next Irish drive with 3:55 left in the third. DC Farrell will keep it. He's going to move inside, and he gets a yard, like you said, and they've been doing a good job all game. This Cardinal Mooney front four has not allowed much up the middle. It's been the edges in the passing game which have really hurt the Cardinal defense. But overall, their defense really hasn't played all too bad. They've given up 23 points, but their defense has had a short field to work with most of the time.
And they've been on the field an awful long time.
As that ball dropped by Farrell, he's looking to throw it and get rid of it, and he's going to fall down. And down to the 31, it's going to bring up a third and very long. And I got the answer I was looking for on the last time Ursuline shut out Cardinal Mooney. It was the year of 2000, where the year they won state, 28-0. And, of course, the year before, Cardinal Mooney shut out Ursuline 34-0. That's the way this rivalry goes. You just never know. One year you're getting shut out in the Holy War, the next year you're winning state. And Ursuline's looking to make that a common theme for this time. Quick little pass, low throw, and another throw by Farrell, which just hasn't quite been there. He rushed himself a little bit because of the pressure. Well, those are throws you kind of need to make. You'd rather almost throw it high than low. And as I keep looking, the last time before then of a shutout of Cardinal Mooney was 1984. Then again, all the way back in 1968, 1965. So only 4 times in total. So it's not a common occurrence for either team to be shut out in the Holy War, and you still have to go back 18 years for any of them to be. This is obviously not over yet. There's plenty of football left in this game, but just a fun little nugget, because this is a game that is usually pretty competitive, and we've seen it be competitive over the last few years, even with the lopsided records these teams have had coming into these games.
So again, they've got another opportunity, Cardinal Mooney does, to try to make better field position than they've had in the past couple of drives, but to be able to try to get something rolling here. The Irish defense has been stout all night long. There haven't been too many big plays and too many first downs that they've actually given up. So they're going to be rushing 3.
Rhodes back at quarterback for his 3rd straight drive. Rolling out to his left. Looking back, still running, trying to scramble. And tackled by the shoestring around the 43, as it was a dicey block around the 40.
Yeah.
I mean,
the hard block.
And the thing is, it was a great block, but you never know nowadays what they're going to call as blindside blocks, because I've seen blindside blocks called where the guy literally runs right in front of his face, but he just kind of came out of nowhere, which that's not a blindside if it's right in front of your face. You never know. And I'm sure you can agree that you just can't.
No.
You just never know what they're going to call anymore, because that's such a subjective term. Looking to throw his Rhodes. Got 2 on first down, and he is going to try getting 2 again, and he gets about 2 again, maybe 1, as it's going to be a 3rd down and medium yardage to go for this Cardinal Mooney offense.
He's been under consistent pressure since he's come into the ball game, and he's been able to elude that pressure.
Something we didn't see from Gentile, because he's more of a pocket passer, and when you're not getting a lot of time in the pocket, that's when you kind of maybe move to a mobile quarterback to try creating something when that pocket breaks down, because Ursuline's only rushing 3 or 4 guys. So you're outnumbering them on the offensive line. And people always talk about it's important to win when you have the numbers, like on that line, when you're 5-4, 5-3. Well, when they're rushing the passer with 5-4, it means you can probably evade the pass rush and scramble for some yards when they're only rushing 4 or 3 against your 5. But there is a timeout on the field. It's going to be taken, and we'll take a quick break, step aside. Cardinal Mooney has the ball with 1:13 left to go in the third quarter. 3rd and 7 from their own 43. We're back here on YSN Live, almost the end of the third quarter. It's the Holy War. Looking to throw his Rhodes. He steps up in the pocket, and he is thrown down from behind. He didn't really sense that pressure, and he was brought down by a host of Irish defenders. Leading the charge there for Ursuline was A.J. Snyder, followed up by what I believe was Rashad Harris, and that's going to force the Cardinals to punt because they didn't get enough yards to make a decision for Coach Pelini.
Yeah, they had 2 players who were able to go around the edge and come from him from behind. And as you mentioned, he had no clue that they were there. And in the past and some of the previous plays, he's been able to use his feet to get away from that. But there were just 2 people on him at that point.
And, of course, if he knew they were there, he would have tucked the ball and ran, not even looked down the field, and maybe had a chance at the first down. Instead, it's a punt. Here comes Desmond's punt. Again, low line drive. It's going to bounce and take a Cardinal Mooney bounce inside the 25 and inside around the 20 on the dot, and that's where Ursuline will get the ball back. We've just got 15 seconds left to go in this third quarter. We're going to keep it here because we're going to go send you to another timeout in a matter of 15 seconds on the game clock.
And this quarter seems like it's gone slowly. You know?
The whole game has seemed like but I agree. The whole quarter has been like really methodical.
Other than one scoring situation here, I mean, it's been kind of back and forth. I mean, a few plays, a few first downs.
Incomplete passes.
And then a mistake here or there, another 3 and out over here. And that's kind of been this back and forth where neither team is playing as well as obviously they'd like to.
And off to Baylog. Baylog has the hole. Baylog gets lit up at the 35, but not before he moves well past the first down marker. And we have an official down on the field.
Yeah, that's the only thing that stopped him from getting another 10 or 15 was the fact that Baylog and the defender ran into the official.
And it was hard to see that it was an official because Ursuline's wearing all black and Cardinal Mooney's wearing all white. So it's a tough ask, and we'll be right back after this. Here on YSN, Tim Corso, Keith Corso with you guys. Thanks for joining us. And I'm getting this screen frozen, taken care of. Second time that's happened.
So an update, the official was taken off the field, and he's not going to continue.
Here's the handoff as we start the fourth quarter. Baylog, that was the last play on the Joe Baylog 12-yard run. And it's going to be second down and about 5 yards to go after that carry from Baylog.
You know, when you think about it, there haven't been too many games where the first-team offense has been on the field this late.
It's just been the Walsh Jesuit game and the Villa Angela St. Joseph game. That's been it. And everyone, talked about, when I was out down on that sideline, just people saying, Ursuline needed this game whether they win or lose against the Vikings because, one, they need to be tested. They haven't been tested in a while in terms of the game being close. And two, they haven't had their team play the full game since week 1. So this is another game where they're playing the whole game with their first-team offense and their first-team defense, as Farrell's dropped after about a yard, maybe 2.
And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to have your team, play this full game going into the first round of the playoffs next week. Obviously, you want to make sure that no injuries happen, but playing a full game, I think, can be a good thing. If you're a banged-up team, being able to get a second half off can help you out and help you recover faster during the week.
Now, this is interesting here. It's 4th and 1. I was curious to see what kind of formation they come out in because they brought some power guys out, which you never know on 4th and 1. But DC's getting the play call from Coach Reardon. It's a punt for the time being. We'll see if they have anything up their sleeve. So we have fake to Joe Baylog on the left side. Baylog gets the edge. Baylog has more, and Joe Baylog's pushed out of bounds right before he crosses the 40-yard line. And you kind of saw that coming when Coach Reardon was talking to DC for about a million years prior to the snap. And you just didn't know who was getting the football. Joe Baylog got it, and he was only a couple yards behind the centers. So, I mean, he only needed about 4 yards.
Yeah, it was the perfect position on the field to do something like that. If you don't get it, you're still have more than half the field to go.
As that's a handoff to Baylog. Baylog with it again. Baylog, he's cutting in. He's looking to find some more space. He's going to run into Stamp, and he's going to be brought down around the 20. Joe Baylog, another big carry. And just like that, Joe Baylog's got over 30 yards in the last 2 carries, and he's got about 50 yards on this drive alone.
Yeah, that's the thing we haven't seen all game long is Baylog being able to break those runs and get his head of speed get his speed up and going.
Pass over the middle. Taylor caught, and Devontae Taylor walks into the end zone. DC Farrell hit him in stride, and it's a 21-yard touchdown catch. And an extra point away from putting us in running clock territory as DC Farrell, he's missed a number of throws tonight, but he made that one perfect.
Yeah, that had to be right on the money. It was a nice slant right across the center of the field, and the ball was right there, and there was no doubt about that one.
And here comes Anthony Tabak on for the extra point. Snap is down, kick is up, and it is good. A little low, but it all works out the same. 30-0 with 9:39 left to go here in the fourth quarter. Ursuline and running clock over rival Cardinal Mooney here on your Sports Network. And we are back here on your Sports Network. 9:39 left to go. YSN has this Holy War exclusively on YSN. You can't get it anywhere else unless you're here in person or your best friend is FaceTiming you while they're at the game. You have YSN for your exclusive home of this game, and it's a 30-0 lead for Ursuline over Cardinal Mooney. Little squib kick played by the Upmen. That's Page. Page lowers his shoulder and gets dragged down around the 38-yard line. We'll give him the 39. And that's where Cardinal Mooney begins their next possession. And it looks like you're going to get Keith Rhodes back out again to lead this offense out on the field. Keep looking for Vince Gentile on the sideline, and maybe he's just in a huddle. He is on the sideline right now. Sometimes those quarterbacks, those backup quarterbacks, will stay in the huddle, just kind of soak in all the knowledge they can and all the play call and kind of see how it's put on the field during a game. But Gentile's on the sideline as Rhodes leads his offense back out for their next drive with 8:38 and counting on the clock.
And I think you're going to be comfortable seeing a steady diet of passing here. The clock is going to run no matter what.
Unless you get a score, and they figure if we have any chance of getting back in this football game, throwing the ball is our way to go, as Rhodes keeps it on a little read option play, and he gets about 6 yards. And if they get this ball, if they get this back to 24 with a touchdown, they'll kick the extra point because we'd rather have 23 than 24 for 2-point conversion's sake if you're trying to come back. And then you'll see onside kicks, and if they can get some. But it's hard to imagine this Cardinal Mooney offense is going to be able to consistently put drives together throwing the ball. Just the way this game's gone.
Yeah.
And them switching to a backup quarterback when clearly he's more a runner than a thrower. Rhodes rolls to his right, looking to throw. Quick pass, caught, room to work. That's Gomez. Gomez is undercut around the 48-yard line. Making the tackle there was Brown. And not before Cardinal Mooney gets into Ursuline territory and picks up a first down.
So the Irish defense was rushing 4 that time, and it looks like they're going to put 4 up on the line again. Before, when they saw that Rhodes was going to the pass more, they were rushing 3, and now I'm not quite sure how they're doing this. I see 3 at least
Kind
on
of
the line.
depends. They put 3 on the line. Sometimes they'll rush a linebacker off one of the edges, or 2 guys blitzing up the middle. You just never know. High snap over the head of Stevens. Stevens running. Stevens looking to make something happen. And right there, you wonder why they don't throw it away. Because, yeah, he's trying to make something happen, but you're losing 20 yards almost if you don't. And they lost near 20 right there. Another bad snap in this game, as we've seen. Ball spotted at the 38-yard line. So from the Ursuline 46, backtracking 16 yards, it's going to bring up a second down and 26 with the clock under 6.5 now at 6:15. And you wonder if that's a snap count thing, because they didn't have the same court. They had a Wildcat in there. Maybe the cadence was different, and it threw off the center. Rhodes looking to throw. Getting pressure from Snyder. He steps up, looking to throw still. Still keeping his eyes down the field. Give him credit. He throws. And he had a man. He had Aiden Page a little bit too late, though, when Carter Rudzik and Rashad Harris got in his face. And he got rid of the football. Got hit as he was throwing. Had he got it to hit Page, Page had a lot of space to work, but that's a tough play. But credit to Rhodes right there. He kept his eyes downfield for a long time, just because he really had nowhere to go.
Yeah, everywhere he turned, there seemed to be another Irish player coming after him. He got flushed out because Snyder came around, and then somebody else comes after him. So there was really good pursuit, and he just couldn't find anybody that he could get the ball to.
Looking to throw. Rhodes steps up, and he is hit as he is trying to throw, but that ball did not get out. They say his arm went forward, but your reaction says it all. It looked like he got sandwiched immediately as he reared back, but we really couldn't see from up here. That should have been, from at least our angle, a fumble recovered by Carter Rudzik on the play. But nonetheless, Ursuline's getting the ball back because that's 4th and 24.
Yeah, I guess the question is that maybe his arm was moving forward, but my thought was he was trying to bring the ball back down to himself to protect it from a fumble.
Here's a snap, punt, low again, and it's going to take a Mooney bounce. Usually when it's a line drive punt like that, it usually takes the punting team's bounce, just because there's really no time for that ball to hang in the air and be unpredictable. It's like a line drive, and you're kind of like bowling the ball. And right there, it did the exact same thing, and Mooney stopped it a couple yards before it started being done to roll. But it's all the same. There's 4:19 left to go in this game. Ursuline is going to move on to take down Cardinal Mooney once again. And now really the only difference is really question now is will they record their first shutouts over the Cardinals since the year 2000? And we'll find out in about 4:19. And we're going to give you some updates for the Cardinal Mooney fans on how those games around their playoff region are going, because a win guaranteed them to be in. It guaranteed them to jump up at least a spot, but a loss did not guarantee them in. And they can make some noise in that region because of their schedule being so tough, and they play hard. Backup quarterback in for Ursuline, and same with Davion Patterson, the backup running back. As you see the new quarterback for Ursuline, 15, I believe, that's George Camuso. It is. Again, can't believe there's a freshman who's 6'2", 204 at quarterback. And they're going to put this JV, the second-team offense, in, and that's really going to be the sign for Coach Sheridan saying we're just running this ball. It doesn't matter for the clock, but we're just kind of letting this clock run out if we can get some first downs.
Yeah, just take your time getting the play in. There's no need, obviously, to rush it here, although the team isn't really designed to take a lot of time off the play clock, but they're down to 6 seconds now.
Bad snap over the head of Camuso, looking to fall on it. He does around the 6, and another bad snap for the center, and that's the varsity center. That's still 55 in Seth Bowen. He's only a sophomore, but that's the second time that's happened today.
So my question is, how many snaps is he going to be practicing this week? Because you've got to make sure that you don't make these mistakes and have these high snaps
And also, how comfortable is his quarterback's going under center right now?
Yeah.
In this game, probably not very comfortable. Or you'd probably do it just because a bad snap out of the back of the end zone, and there you go.
Yeah. There goes your shutout.
There goes your shutout, and there's a handoff. Keeper for Camuso, actually. He's looking to get the edge. He doesn't get much. It's going to bring up 4th and about 38 as now Ursuline's going to just try to punt the ball away and, looking to protect their lead at 30-0. They're shut out at 30-0 with about a minute and a half left by the time Cardinal Mooney gets his football back. So we look at a couple games for Cardinal Mooney's interest in terms of the playoff race because they're going to be waiting tonight to see if they get in or not. Right now, Ravenna, who's taking on Field, trying to get a score update on that. It's a high, wobbly punt. It's going to bounce and take a Cardinal Mooney bounce. I mean, it really doesn't matter because that ball's inside the 30-yard line. And now, I guess the only question is, with a minute 35 left, can Mooney score? That's really the only thing we have to worry about. Not even worry about, but just kind of wonder about right now.
Yeah, that's the small victory that they can pull from this.
And take it to the playoffs if they make it.
They don't want to be shut out by Ursuline, no matter how much this game has been all about the Irish at this point in time. As we look forward, as we're talking about it, the question becomes now, the Irish will be waiting to find out who their opponent's going to be in the first round of the playoffs, a game that'll be here next Friday.
Now, it is likely, it's possible they do get the 2 or 3 seed because Gilmore Academy, the 2 seed, is undefeated facing Villa Angela tonight, so that'd be a big win for them. But it's very likely Ursuline gets the 1 seed with a win. It's nearly impossible. It's improbable. Throw over the middle and intercepted. And guess who? Luke Kohler, back-to-back Cardinal Mooney games where he is going to house one potentially. He's got the space. He's getting chased down from behind by Gomez, and he is brought down to the 24. Luke Kohler almost had consecutive Holy Wars where he capped off the game with a pick 6, and he's down for the time being. He's slow to get up, and he's going to kind of fall down and stay down because he's cramping, I think. You can see he ran out of steam towards the end of that run. But a great interception by Kohler.
Yeah, the ball was high, and he was right where he needed to be. And this is one of those situations where, when a game is so out of reach, it's basically over. You don't want to see your players get hurt in something like this. But I think like you said, he just kind of cramped up, and he's limping a little bit. He's having a hard time putting some weight on his leg, but he's able to run off the field.
So I guess the good news for Cardinal Mooney is Jefferson is getting beat by 27 to Geneva right now, and that was the 17 seed, while the 18 seed in Salem is defeated by West Branch. The 16 seed right below Cardinal Mooney in Ravenna, even if they win, Cardinal Mooney probably gets a 16 seed. They're losing by 6 in the third quarter to Field. So for all intents and purposes, Cardinal Mooney, you're in the playoffs regardless. It's just depending on whether you're a 15 or 16 seed right now. Either way, they're not going to have an easy task game 1. However, they're in, and that's really all that matters right now because anything can happen in the playoffs as Ursuline is going to get 1 snap off.
Yeah, some of them were heading off the field. They thought they didn't have to do 1 more snap, but there is about a 4-second differential. Camuso.
He takes the knee, and for the first time since 2000, Ursuline has shut out Cardinal Mooney in the Holy War 30-0. And the first time in 18 years that this game's ended with one team being shut out since 2004. Ursuline will likely host their first playoff game here, likely as the number 1 seed. We'll wait to see who they play. There's some speculation Canfield will be the team they play, or Cheney. So 2 familiar foes, while Cardinal Mooney will move on and they'll face a very tough team in Division 4, Region 13, regardless. But Ursuline with a very, very good game and a great win in the Holy War over Cardinal Mooney.
Right. This was a game obviously dominated by Ursuline. The Cardinals were able to keep that game close for a while in that first half. Despite the fact they weren't able to get anything moving offensively, they were able to keep it tight. It was a 9-0 game for a while. But as we've seen time and time again, the Irish keep pressing on the pedal, started to change up how they were playing and what their plays were going to be and mixing up their offensive play calling, and were eventually able to lengthen this lead and take a dominating victory home.
And it was, it didn't look pretty in some facets for them. Their defense obviously was phenomenal. Their offense, they had some mistakes, but they looked pretty good overall. Special teams, they did their thing. They had a field goal, but when your defense plays this well, I've said it multiple times talking to coaches, how nice is it knowing that you only need a field goal to win the game when it comes out to a shutout.
Right. Well, now it's just a look ahead now for the Irish. Who do they play next week, and getting themselves ready. And if there's any part of this game that they need to make sure that they're careful of, is that the too many high snaps. I hate to put a kibosh on a 30-0 victory, but you're going to start playing opponents that are going to capitalize on that. And when you have higher snaps, it takes an extra step or two for your quarterback to get himself set. So it's something that I'm sure will be worked on, and we will probably see a significant difference next week.
And if there's any consolation, there's no easy wins in the playoffs.
No.
But you do have a 16 seed, which if you do get up by a lot, that's when you can kind of see how it goes with no pressure. We'll see what happens. We'll be back here Friday, though. We don't know who we're playing. We don't know what that whole thing will look like, but we do know Ursuline is going to be in the playoffs, of course, likely the number 1 seed in their region, while Cardinal Mooney will get in as well. You can watch both these teams next week on YSN. For Keith Corso, I'm Tim Corso. Have a great night, and this has been YSN Live.